The question says the sequence S1, S2, S3 up to S sub n is such that S sub n equals 1 over n minus 1 over n plus 1 for all integers n greater than or equal to 1. If k is a positive integer, is the sum of the first k terms of the sequence greater than 9 over 10? And two statements with ranges of values for k. A few observations first, based on the description of this text prior to the question. The way how it is defined, each of the terms in this sequence S is, a difference of two fractions. But you are subtracting the fraction with a greater denominator, so it is less than the first fraction 1 over n. We know that if n is positive, 1 over n is greater than 1 over n plus 1. So obviously, this difference will always be positive. Each of the terms in this sequence is positive. Now, can we find a shortcut to calculate this sum, the sum of all terms in the sequence S, from the first to the kth term? If you start adding, you will see that the terms have this form. The first term, which is S1, is 1 over 1 minus 1 over 2. Then the second term, which would be S2, is 1 over 2 minus 1 over 3. Then the third term, S3, would be 1 over 3 minus 1 over 4, and so on and on. Finally, the penultimate term would be 1 over k minus 1 minus 1 over k, and finally, the last term, 1 over k minus 1 over k plus 1. So, what happens when we add all these numbers? You can appreciate there is a number of quantities here that are cancelled in pairs. This and this together. Then you have negative 1/3 with positive 1/3, negative 1/4 with positive 1/4 over here, and so on. So that in the end, all terms with the exception of the first and the last are cancelled. So you can see that all the intermediate terms are cancelled, and the final sum will be 1 minus 1 over k plus 1. So if you want to find the sum of the first k terms, you only need to calculate this expression. Very simple, right? Very convenient. So what does this allow us to? In terms of reformulating the question, what we are being asked is this. Is 1 minus 1 over k plus 1 greater than 9 over 10? And now we can see that we can easily change this into a question that is only about the value of k. Take a look. We give common denominator, and we have k plus 1 minus 1 over k plus 1. So we have here, this is the same as saying 10k is greater than 9 times k plus 1, which at the same time is the same as saying this. 10k minus 9k is k greater than 9. The true question we need to answer is this one. So with this, we can easily analyze the statements. We don't need to crack our heads to say, oh, how do I interpret k greater than 10 or k is less than 19? With the statement 1, we know that for this condition to be true, for the sum of the first k terms of the sequence to be greater than 9 over 10, k needs to be greater than 9. So statement 1 alone is sufficient, because k, a number greater than 10, is always greater than 9. What about the second? Well, a number that is less than 19, it could be 15, an affirmative answer to the question. It could be 8, a negative answer to the question. So statement 2 alone, not sufficient. The correct answer